One of the biggest lies about spiritual awakening is that it is peaceful. People imagine enlightenment, inner calm, and bliss. But what many experience first is anger raw, intense, overwhelming anger. And nobody talks about it because anger doesn't fit the spiritual image people want to project. But if you're going through an awakening and suddenly finding yourself irritated, frustrated, resentful, or even furious, you are not necessarily moving backward. You may actually be waking up. Here's why. For years, maybe decades, you learned how to survive. You learned how to be the good girl, the people pleaser, the caretaker, the one who kept the peace, the one who swallowed their truth to avoid conflict, the one who tolerated things that never should have been tolerated. You adapted, you adjusted, you abandoned parts of yourself just to belong. And then something begins to shift. The awakening starts. The fog lifts. The masks begin to crack. And suddenly you see things you could not see before. You see the relationships where you gave far more than you received. You see the boundaries that were crossed. You see the manipulation, the betrayal, the emotional neglect, the years you spent putting everyone else ahead of yourself. And when that awareness arrives, anger often follows, not because you're becoming less spiritual, but because you're becoming more honest. Many people mistake this phase as failure. They think, I thought I was healing. Why am I so angry? Because healing doesn't just uncover your light, it uncovers your wounds. And buried beneath those wounds is often grief. And beneath that grief is anger. Anger for what happened. Anger for what was taken. Anger for the version of yourself that had to shrink in order to survive. The truth is that healthy anger has a purpose. Anger says, that wasn't okay. It should not have happened. I deserved better. For many people, this is the first time in their lives they have allowed themselves to feel that truth. The problem isn't anger itself. The problem is what we do with it. Unhealed anger can become bitterness, resentment, destruction. But conscious anger becomes information. It becomes fuel. It becomes the force that finally helps you create boundaries. This phase can be confusing because it often feels like your entire life is unraveling. You may outgrow friendships, question relationships, change careers, pull away from environments that once felt familiar. Not because you're broken, but because you're no longer willing to betray yourself for acceptance. The anger phase is often the moment your soul says, no more. No more pretending, no more shrinking, no more sacrificing yourself to keep everyone else comfortable. And while that anger can feel uncomfortable, it is often the doorway to something much deeper, freedom. Because eventually the anger softens, the clarity remains, the lessons remain, the boundaries remain. And what emerges is not rage. It is self-respect. It is authenticity. It is peace built on truth rather than suppression. So if you find yourself in the anger phase of awakening, understand this. You are not failing. You are not becoming less spiritual. You are not losing control. You are becoming aware of what your soul can no longer ignore. And awareness is often where true transformation begins. If this message resonates with where you are in your journey, share your experience in the comments. What has awakening made you angry about? And if you're ready for deeper conversations about healing, awakening, and reclaiming your authentic self, make sure to subscribe. Because sometimes the most important stages of transformation are the ones nobody talks about. Thank you taking the time to connect with my content, and always remember, you are loved.